There is a reason the ancients were never afraid of death, because they believed consciousness survives it. What if I told you that over 4,000 years ago, the Egyptians had already written one of the most profound spiritual maps of the soul's journey ever recorded? Not as mythology, not as fantasy, but as sacred instruction for what happens when the soul moves beyond the body. What I am holding here is from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and these particular passages are some of the most powerful teachings on spiritual passage, resurrection, protection, and the return of the soul into divine light. These pages center around plate 18, and they follow the voice of Ani, the scribe, speaking as one who is consciously moving through the gates of the afterlife. What is so fascinating is that this is not written from a place of fear. It is written from authority, remembrance, and spiritual mastery. The soul is not portrayed as lost. It is portrayed as one who knows the way. One of the first passages speaks of the chapter of opening the tomb to the soul, of the shadow, of coming forth by day, and of getting power over the legs. That alone is profound. To come forth by day was the Egyptian expression for the soul awakening beyond death, not disappearing, but rising into conscious existence. The phrase about gaining power over the legs is deeply symbolic. It speaks to the restoration of movement, will, and agency after crossing the threshold. In other words, the soul is reclaiming its ability to move forward. Listen to the power in the words. The place of bondage is opened. This is spiritual liberation language. The tomb is no longer a prison. The soul is no longer bound by limitation. It rises. It moves. It becomes luminous. The text then invokes Ra, Horus, and Osiris, and this is where the teachings become even deeper. Ra represents divine light and solar consciousness. Horus represents awakened vision and divine kingship. Osiris represents death, resurrection, and eternal life. Ani identifies himself with these forces, almost as if saying, I am aligned with the eternal current of divine consciousness. This is not ego, this is initiation. What stood out to me most is the repeated prayer that the soul and the Ku not be fettered. In Egyptian spirituality, the Ku refers to the radiant spirit, the luminous intelligence of the being. They were deeply aware that what survives is not merely memory, but essence, a light body, a spiritual presence. Then the text moves into the chapter of walking with the two legs and coming forth upon earth. This part is extraordinary because it suggests that spiritual resurrection is not only about the afterlife, but also about returning empowered. There is a mystical teaching here that I believe still applies to us today. Every time we rise from grief, trauma, loss, or an old identity, we are performing our own coming forth by day. This is why these ancient teachings still matter. They are not only funerary texts, they are texts of transformation. Another powerful section says, I have passed through the underworld. I have seen my father Osiris. I have scattered the gloom of night. Pause with that. To scatter the gloom of night is to transcend darkness, illusion, and fear. This is the soul as alchemist. This is shadow work in its oldest sacred form. And then we move into one of the most striking chapters, the chapter of making a man return to see again his home upon earth. This is where the soul speaks of returning, seeing again, re-entering awareness. Spiritually, this mirrors what many of us experience after deep initiatory periods in life. There are moments where we feel like we have gone into our own underworld, and when we emerge, we no longer see the world the same way. The line that truly stopped me was, I am the lion, God coming forth with strides. That is a declaration of power. The lion archetype has always symbolized courage, sovereignty, and divine force. This is the soul no longer in fragmentation, but in mastery. Then there is the serpent imagery, Ani piercing a serpent. This is profoundly esoteric. Across many traditions, the serpent carries dual symbolism, wisdom and chaos, transformation and shadow. Here, piercing the serpent can be read as overcoming lower forces, fear, corruption, or illusion in the underworld. The text continues with, I have divided the heavens, I have passed through the horizon, I have traversed the earth. This is the language of cosmic initiation. These teachings reveal that the Egyptians understood the soul as multidimensional. The soul moves through heavens, earth, underworld, and divine realms. They saw existence as layered, energetic, and deeply symbolic. And what I love most is this. The soul keeps speaking in the first person. I have passed. I have seen. I have become. I come forth. This is exactly why these texts still awaken something within us today. They remind us that spiritual transformation is never passive. It is participatory. You must walk it. You must cross it. You must become it. So when I study these teachings, I don't only read them as ancient funerary prayers. I read them as a map for the modern soul, for anyone who has walked through darkness and is learning how to come forth by day again. If you have been through a season where parts of you had to die so that something truer could rise, then you already understand the wisdom of Osiris. You are not broken. You are in initiation. If this teaching spoke to something deep within you, I want you to comment the word rebirth below, because I truly want to know where you are in your own coming forth journey. Follow for more ancient teachings, hermetic wisdom, soul alchemy, and spiritual decoding through the lens of the mystic path. And if you feel you are moving through your own underworld season and need guidance through the transformation, my one-to-one soul sessions and readings are open through the alchemical garden. Your rebirth may already be beginning.